Welcome back to Stories Round the Table. Today, we have the distinct pleasure of featuring a true craftsman of country music. He's celebrated as the co-writer behind a string of unforgettable pop country hits with the legendary Eddie Rabbitt, a fellow member of the Hall of Fame. But the talents of our guest extend beyond songwriting. He's also a gifted visual artist, a respected record producer, and a vocalist in his own right. His collaborative spirit has connected him with a remarkable list of Hall of Fame inductees, including Shel Silverstein, Paul Overstreet, Mac Davis, Roger Cook, Paul Davis, and Tom Skyler. Born in Cincinnati and raised in the small town of Lewistown, Ohio, his initial exposure to music came through his family group, the Gospel Balladeers, where he performed alongside his minister father, Floyd, and his sister Sandra. They even toured and recorded locally. After graduating high school, our guest spent a year working as a barber before enlisting in the U.S. Coast Guard, where he honed his skills as a Morse code operator. It was while stationed in California that his songwriting journey began in the folk clubs of Monterey and San Francisco. During this time, he also started showcasing and selling his paintings. His plans to pursue art school back in Ohio took an exciting turn when his musician and engineer uncle Bob extended an invitation to visit Nashville. That visit, in 1970, became a permanent move, setting the stage for his indelible mark on Music City. The early years in Nashville presented their challenges, with our guest navigating life by sleeping in his Jeep and on friends' couches, while also working as a parking lot attendant at the airport. A pivotal moment arrived in 1972 when he began collaborating with fellow aspiring songwriter Eddie Rabbitt. This partnership soon led to a publishing venture with engineer, producer, and writer David Malloy, known as Deb Dave/Briar Patch. 1973 marked his first significant breakthrough when Sammy Smith recorded his song, "I'm In for Stormy Weather." This was the first of many to come. Other notable artists who recorded his early songs include the legendary George Jones, Stella Parton, Stonewall Jackson, and Billy Walker. Then, in 1975, the magic of his collaboration with Eddie Rabbitt began to yield major hits, with their co-written songs reaching #1 by the following year. Between 1975 and 1978, he also explored his own artistry, recording an album and a series of singles for Elektra Records. However, he soon recognized that his true passion and strength lay in the art of songwriting. The period of 1980 to 81 saw the Malloy, Rabbitt, Stevens songwriting trio achieve massive pop crossover success with iconic tracks like I Love a Rainy Night, Drivin' My Life Away, and Step by Step. Their co-written song Suspicions with Randy McCormick was honored as BMI's 1980 Country Song of the Year. His collaborations with other artists continued to produce chart-topping hits, including Conway Twitty's Crazy in Love in 1990, Lacey J. Dalton's Black Coffee, also in 1990, Ricky Skaggs' Lovin' Only Me in 1989, and the Oak Ridge Boys' No Matter How High in 1989. Notably, he also solely penned the 1979 Dr. Hook pop hit, When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman. Further recognition came with Love Will Turn You Around, co-written with Tom Skyler, David Malloy, and its performer, Kenny Rogers, which was named ASCAP's Country Song of the Year in 1982. His talent also earned him awards for a series of memorable Miller Beard jingles. By 2015, his remarkable songwriting career had been acknowledged with 55 BMI songwriting honors. As a producer, our guest has lent his expertise to recordings by a diverse range of artists, including Engelbert Humperdinck, Wood Newton, Stella Parton, Zella Lair, and his longtime collaborator, Eddie Rabbitt. In addition to those already mentioned, the extensive catalog of his songs has been recorded by an incredible array of artists, including Blake Shelton, Alabama, Tim McGraw, Martina McBride, Johnny Mathis, Dolly Parton, Joe Cocker, Glenn Campbell, Barbara Mandrell, Kim Carnes, Ronnie Millsap, Tom Jones, Elvis Costello, Kenny Chesney, Trace Adkins, and Julio Iglesias, among many others. Join us as we delve into the stories behind these remarkable achievements and the enduring legacy of the one and only Even Stevens.
In the heart of country music's timeless tradition, where stories are woven into the very fabric of our souls, gather round the table for a journey into the heart of the songs, the singers, and the stories that define our world. Welcome to Season 2 of Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni. Bringing you these unforgettable conversations, Hudson James, executive producer, co-host, and singer-songwriter.
Hi, I'm Hudson James, and I'm incredibly passionate about sharing these stories with you. Season 2 delves deeper into the world of country music, revealing untold experiences and invaluable information. Grab a seat and your favorite beverage, and let's all enjoy the show together.
And I'm Joni. Hudson and I are very excited about Season 2. We're going to introduce you to some wonderful new guests who will share their story about where they came from, how they got their start, and what inspired them to follow this incredible journey in country music.
Joni Harms, executive producer, co-host, and singer-songwriter, a true icon of Western music. Her impact on the genre is undeniable. She's not just a singer, she's a storyteller, a keeper of the Western spirit. Her contributions have been recognized by the most prestigious organizations in Western music. The International Western Music Association has honored her repeatedly. In 2003, she received both Female Vocalist of the Year and Song of the Year, culminating in her induction into the IWMA Hall of Fame in 2020. More recently, in 2022, she was awarded the Team Penning Co-Write Songwriting Contest Award. The Academy of Western Artists also recognized her exceptional talent, including naming her Entertainer of the Year in 2002. Jimmy Murphy, executive producer and music manager. Vernell Hackett, public relations director and journalist. In the heart of Nashville's vibrant music scene, she's a fixture, chronicling its history and shaping its narrative. Her byline appears in respected publications, including American Songwriter, and she has contributed to major news outlets like Reuters. From covering the CMA Awards to in-depth artist interviews, she's a respected voice, capturing the essence of the music, the stories behind the songs.
Hello, listeners. This is Vernell Hackett, your public relations director. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests this season, and we can't wait for you to experience these authentic conversations. Get ready to pull up a chair.
Jonathan Svoboda, social media executive. And Brett C. Burks, producer and singer-songwriter. Join Hudson and Joni as they sit down with the legends and the rising stars, sharing the tales behind the tunes, the laughter, and the tears that shape the soul of country music. Produced by the Story Weaver Studio.
Yeah.
Well, Joni, we have another great interview today. Even Stevens, what an amazing songwriter.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, as a songwriters ourselves, it is just something to look at the list of someone like Even, that he has just hit after hit after hit that he's written. I mean, it's going to be so fun to hear some of the stories behind the songs of how they came about. I mean, he was really a big part of Eddie Rabbitt's career. They wrote, Driving My Life Away and I Love a Rainy Night. Some of those kind of things that, those songs made quite an impression on me when I first heard them, I remember. And When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman, that was a big one he wrote. I mean, so it's going to be really fun to talk to him today.
Yeah, what iconic songs that he's really behind. And, I really do enjoy the songwriting interviews that we do, because you hear these songs, and I've said this numerous times, but you don't know that. I mean, a lot of people just assume that the artist is the one that wrote it. And in many cases, that's true, but not in all cases.
Oh, for sure.
It's very
I would
common
say
that
actually the majority of the songs you hear are written by, the songwriters, and yet sometimes they don't get the credit. They just, if people don't look at the jacket on a CD, like you've heard me say so many times that I miss with not having CDs as popular as they used to be, you don't know who wrote the song, and unless you go look it up or whatever. So it's really, I think something that I'm proud that we're doing too, Hudson, as is, finding the songwriters and interviewing them so that our listeners can hear uh, who wrote the songs and hear the stories of how they came about and how they were lucky enough to have a hit with them by somebody recording them.
absolutely, and the journey that they go through to finally make it, um, just an incredible story. They're so dedicated. They'll live in their car. They'll live in someone's couch. They will do whatever it takes to finally get that one hit song, and that takes some true dedication to what you truly want to do.
Yes, that's for sure. Well, let's bring on Even and hear his story.
Absolutely. All right.
Hey, even man, oh man, I have heard about you all my life, and I've never had the opportunity to meet you. I think we were writing with, people that you were writing with, I was writing with, but never had the paths crossed that I thought. So this is a real treat for me to get to talk to you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
For things to Nashville, isn't it?
Well, it's pretty good. I live outside of Nashville about an hour, but I go in quite often. It's Nashville.
Yes, sir. It sure is. It's getting crazy, though, I think. Don't you? I mean, back in the good old days when Music Row was Music Row, things were a little different. But I guess, that's the way the world rolls and everything changes. It's just part of the life.
Yeah, I'll tell you, about a month ago, I was in Nashville, and I went down to Music Row, and I was at a stoplight, and I went stop sign, and I looked up, and the buildings were so tall, I didn't know where I was, and I've been on Music Row for 30 years. And I went, it was freaky. I went, I am lost on Music Row.
Sure has. You were born in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah. That's hospital. Yeah.
There you go. And your dad was a preacher, and you got into the business kind of through that. And I've been doing my research, and then thanks to Uncle Bill or Bob. Uncle Bob was expected to move to Nashville.
Yeah, well, actually, he was playing. He was in Nashville as a drummer, and he was playing down on 4th and Broad. It was a bar there called I don't even know right now, but it was on 4th and Broad, and he was playing drops in a band. And he said, "Why don't you come down?" I was getting ready to go to art school in Dayton, Ohio, at Dayton Art Institute. I was enrolled there to become a commercial artist. And he says, "Well, I'm playing tomorrow night down weekend at this place, the Demon's Den." That's what it was called.
Oh, yeah.
That's where Merchant is now, Merchant restaurant. And he said, "Why don't you come down?" So I had a International South Mill truck, and I went down there and got there about 9:30 at night and listened to him play. And I was going to go home the next morning. I just went down to hear him play. After the show, after they got done playing at that bar, they were tearing down, and I was sitting back by the restroom, and there was a guitar sitting there, and I was playing a song of mine. And the Wet Sears, the old country star, walked by to go to the bathroom. He listened to my song, standing there, and he said, "That song would be perfect for my daughter to record." And I said, "Really? Can I publish it?" And I said, "Sure." And ended up in his office at 3 in the morning signing a contract, and I just blew it off. I said, "This is easy." I called my friends in California and said, "Hey, this is easy." And I stayed in Nashville and blew off art school, and the rest is the rest.
Was that Sammy Smith? That was the one that recorded it? No? What was her name? Was it the gal that recorded that first song?
Well, I don't think anybody recorded that song that I was playing.
Okay.
What was weird about the whole thing was that he said that his daughter was going to record the song. So it didn't happen for a week or so, and I stayed, and I went by their office, and the receptionist lady, I said, when Debbie's going to record my song? She goes, oh, she's going to do it any day. So this goes on for months, and I stayed in Nashville on that promise, and finally I went in there and said to the receptionist, if Debbie's not going to write my, sing my song, I want the song back. She goes, I've got a confession to make. I said, what? She goes, I'm Debbie, and I lost it right after I got it.
Oh, no. Wow.
She didn't even
Oh, man, oh, man. Well, you know what? It got you to stay, though, and I bet you don't regret a thing. I mean, you went on a wonderful, wonderful career.
Yeah, it was a stroke of luck, actually. But I wasn't happy when it happened, I'll tell you that.
Well, was Sammy Flynn the first one to record one of your songs?
She was the first one to put out a single on, it was called I Met the Stormy Weather. It was on Neck Records. Yeah. Yeah, she had just had Home Through the Night, which was Chris Robertson's song. You know, it was Song of the Year. And that's when I met her. Christine Malloy was producing her. And that's another story, too. Meeting them, then when I ended up, I opened shows for her for a couple of years on the road, and became really dear friends and had a house together and all kinds of stuff.
Wow. Well, that's neat.
Yeah.
And then how did you guys, how did you meet Eddie Rabbit? You guys started a publishing company together, didn't you?
Well, yeah. Well, I started a publishing company, Jim Malloy, called Dead Big Music, and he taught me all about publishing, and I ran the company and wrote songs for it and everything. I met Ed Rabbit at a party one night on the third floor of an apartment building down on West End, and it wasn't his place. And we got to talking, and he looked out the window and he says, "Is that Jeep down there on the park down there?" I said, "Yeah, that's my mail truck, Jeep." He goes, "Will you help me move tomorrow?" The last thing anybody wants to hear, and I went, well, yeah, okay. So next day I go down to his apartment, and he lives on the third floor of another apartment building. And I walk in there, and there's a monkey in a cage. And yeah, he says, "That's JoJo, my monkey." I said, "Oh." He goes, "We'll move this cage in the Jeep." And I went, "Damn it, now look at that Jeep. I gotta put that thing in there." So we ended up tying it up on top of my Jeep and driving down the street with our one hand to hold that up there. That's how I met Eddie Rabbit.
Oh, my goodness. So not a monkey on your back, but a monkey on your Jeep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that monkey was around when we wrote probably at least 10, 15 hit songs together. He had a cage for that monkey, and he was always there, either in the cage or pulling my hair out.
Oh, that's too funny.
Wow. Well, that's wild.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild.
Was your first date with him Love a Rainy Night?
No. We had quite a few songs before that. Outfit did well, but that was the one that really popped it, pop and
right,
everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hudson, I'm hogging it. Let's go. You go ahead now. Go ahead.
No, you had mentioned a few minutes ago that you had went through a big struggle with sending your demo, and maybe kind of express to our listeners a little bit more how that struggle really goes, and where your commitment to stay strong is a part of who you are.
You mean how you get songs cut? You mean?
No, about the struggle that goes along with getting it cut and staying motivated to not give up.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty well hooked of being in Nashville. Nashville was really changing a lot when I got there. Chris Robertson is starting to happen, and Mickey Newbury, and a lot of guys like that. And country wasn't real hard country. It was more a little deeper kind of a lyric and a little more melodic than just ready to record songs. And I thought, because I had been living in California before that, and I wasn't into country music actually, and I thought, man, if it's going to go that way, interesting to me. So I thought I could fit into that. Willie Nelson too, actually, was just starting to happen too as an artist. And I just thought, yeah, I like this kind of direction that seems going in Nashville now. A little more folk and hip, you know. And so I thought I could fit in some way, you know.
You sure did. Man, oh man. Where did In Love with a Beautiful Woman happen in amongst all that? Was that more when you were in California, or was that after Nashville as well?
No, that was in Nashville. I was going with a girl. Amy Grooms was her name. She was a singer in a band at the Holiday Inn across from the Parthenon in Nashville. And I was dating her, and I was standing at the bar one night waiting for her to get off on her break to come and talk to me. And on her way over to talk to me, these guys started hitting on her. Never made it over, so it made me mad. I left and got in my Jeep, and in the 15 minutes it took me to drive to my apartment, I wrote that song. Because it was a true song about, you know, it's hard. When you're in love with a woman, it's hard, you know.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness sakes. How
Yeah, I walked into my apartment and played that song from start to finish. As soon as I picked up the guitar, it was really a magic moment. It really was. And I said, "We're going. I'm not mad anymore."
But you didn't know how to do it, did you? I mean, you just know what you know. Yeah.
And I knew on that one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know how, but I knew it had it.
Well, and was Dr. Hook the first one that heard it? He picked it up, or did it go down the line a bit?
No, I played it for the producer. I was hanging out with Gail Silverstein. You know who that is, I'm sure.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You know, they wrote Boy Named Blue and, you know, a bunch of songs that were, and he and I become friends. We're writing songs together and everything. And I was, a couple of days after I wrote that song, I had a studio book, and I went to record it with Jimmy Cap, the guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
And, Billy Lennon, the bass player. And that was all. And I was putting that song down, and Shel Silverstein came by to see me, and he goes, Ian, he says, you know, I've been writing all the Dr. Hook hits, but I just wrote a bunch for their new project, and they wanted to do something different. I think you got what they have, this song.
Or what they need, yeah.
What they need, and he took me over to introduce me, and and within 3 or 4 days, I was heading down to Muscle Shoals with the Swampers down there and cut that song.
Oh, man. Oh, what a thrill.
Yeah, it was a thrill, a real thrill. I remember driving back, I was never so high on something. I thought, oh, I know that's a hit. You know, they did so well, and it was that wonderful rhythm section, you know, Jimmy Johnson and all those. You know,
right.
So I was really, really excited about that cut.
Well, when did you kind of decide that you were digging writing songs more than doing them yourself? I mean, you have all these great artists recording your stuff, so I mean, I imagine in a way it was kind of like, boy, this is a nicer way than going out and perform. It's something about performing live that's wonderful, but did you just kind of say, I kind of like this songwriting thing better?
Well, it was, yeah, actually, yes. I did have a deal on Electro Records, and I had an album out on that label. But I was on the road with promoting that, and I was sitting in a hotel room in New York City promoting that thing. I'd been on the road with a record promoter, and I was sitting there going, man, I don't like this life. I like the life I've had. Just being in Nashville and writing songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I called that night. I called the head of Electro Records out in LA, and I said, "You don't have much fun, and I don't really like this life. I want to go back to being a songwriter." I said, "I really think that you let me go." And he said, "Oh, I've never had this call before." He said, "But okay." He said, "Okay, but we try and write some songs for my artist one or two." You know, he was very nice about it. He said, "I understand." I said, "Great." And when I hung up, I sat on that bed. I remember in that hotel room, and I was so happy. I was just thrilled that I was going to go back to Nashville and just be a songwriter.
Well, not just being a songwriter, as it turns out, but that was definitely the right move for you, and you probably never regretted that.
Nope, never once.
Yeah. Well, my goodness, it sounds like everything fell into place, and I think like Hudson was trying to ask you there, there's definitely bound to be some times when there were some lows that have always had it, but you just kind of consistently had various people recording your songs. I know you've had a huge Kenny Rogers hit, and I mean, Level Turning Around and the Oak Ridge Boys, Conway Twitty, Ricky Skaggs. I mean, was that you doing a lot of your own song pushing and plugging, or were you just writing for a great company? Was it still the same one that you put together with Rabbit, or?
Well, some of them were Rabbit. All I had was Rabbit stuff, pretty much. We wrote together, and sometimes even Malloy was that one on too. And but the cuts I got early, it didn't happen overnight. Let me tell you, I was miserable for a long time. For a couple of years, I wasn't having enough to live on really, and I worked out at the airport in a parking booth and did a lot of things. But I wrote songs at midnight. Yeah. So when I was out there, so it wasn't an overnight success, that's for sure. But things just started happening. One hit gets you a long way, people say, "Oh, he can do it," or "He can do it."
Right.
So
well, back for long. And when there was a handful of people that were really, cranking out the hits, and you were one of them.
Yes, well, it was a real magic time during that time. A lot of my friends were a little on the edge too, like not exactly hard country, and that was, and I have to say, guys like Christopherson and Mickey Newberry, they kind of opened that door, a little more poetic, a little more, I don't know, just not hard country, but still country songs, and I thought I could do that because it didn't me. And so I found my kind of groove, and luckily I had some success with it. And a hit song gets a long way. But mainly it just makes people listen to the song with a better ear, with a more thinking that they might hear something,
But how hard is it really? Maybe explain a little bit more about the depth of how hard it really is to get that first hit. The struggles, what you have to go through, the sacrifices you might have to make.
Yeah, well, I lived in my Jeep for a long time, for over a year, and I also depended on the kindness of ladies. Got to look at some bit, other than my own in the back of my Jeep, I have to say, and friends also. It wasn't overnight. It really wasn't, but I could feel it coming, and I could feel when I get a chance I got into to play songs for people a little more easy because I had a hit, and they would listen to my songs and listen with a better ear, because I did have a hit. So it's just kind of a process. It's magic. It's just human nature, If you've had a hit, then they'll listen a little more open. They're a little open to it. And mine was an unusual hit, my first big hit. So it kind of it opened their mind to maybe a little different kind of country song,
Yeah. And then when did you do the Miller Beer jingles?
That's something that Eddie got for us, actually.
Okay.
After he and I wrote for, I think we wrote like 200 or 300 songs with an artist.
Wow.
And when he became an artist, we got lucky at first, and it built really quick his career, and so he really got that because he was becoming a very popular artist, and Miller approached him to do that.
Okay.
And I wrote some stuff with him for it, but that's kind of how that happened, because he was getting famous, and Miller wanted to attach to it.
Absolutely. So now you're not obviously having to work as hard, and you live about an hour outside of Nashville. But are you what are you doing now? And I mean, are you still looking for people to cut your songs? I'm sure you are.
Yeah, I've been writing. I write a lot with Paul Overstreet and Scotty Emmerich. We've got one song that's about to come out. I can't really talk about it much, but mainly I do a lot of live stuff now across the country and in other countries and stuff. I do songwriter shows and play my hits, and I really love doing that. I had for 12 years every August in Ohio at Indian Lake, Ohio, where I grew up. I started taking Nashville Hitmakers to Indian Lake, Ohio, and it was like a sellout every year at my old high school. And I took all my great friends, Paul Overstreet, Scotty, Matt Davis, all these different people. I hired them to come up and sing for about 1,000 people. Sellout that we had up there every year. And it ended this year because my sister was the producer of up there. She just passed away. So we ended it after she passed away. But I do a lot of concerts quite often, and I still write a lot. I don't go out and really try to get them cut as much as I could or do. I prefer. I don't live down on the road like, every day.
Sure.
But,
Well, Paul's one of my favorite writers too. I mean, and we got to be friends, and I do a few of the smaller gatherings, like almost kind of cowboy gatherings that he goes to, and so he's great, and I'm glad to hear that you're kind of feeling different about going out and performing live now than you did there when you wanted out at the record deal, because it's different though when you go and kind of play all your songs like in a different setting, isn't it?
Oh, and the people are so great. They're such a great audience, and they're so kind to giving me out with their applause and everything, and they really appreciate the song. And I really enjoy it a lot. I didn't really draw those good when I was writing all the time. I didn't try to play out at all. But Paul kind of started with our company actually, and Paul actually still a friend. I mean, he's one of the great writers in the world. And I've written a lot of songs with Paul. I've probably written 50 songs with Paul at least. And Scott is a friend.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And I do stuff on stage with them quite often. We do shows, book ourselves like that.
But nothing better than the story behind song shows, really. I mean, that's one of my favorite things for sure to do and go to listen, because then you want to hear how the song came about, how the writer got the idea for that song.
Yeah, and people are so nice. They are just such a nice audience. Always, it's just great. I mean, I really love doing it. Yeah, I do that quite often.
So they're like 1,000 feet or less, probably even theaters, more like, where it's just not anything loud, kind of more where you can go in and the listening houses. Those are the best.
And that's really starting to become a really popular show.
What's that? I'm sorry.
That concept is starting to really become a very popular type of event.
Yeah, it has. It really has. The audiences are great because they have come for that experience. They haven't come because you have, they're quitting and coming and get that finger. Yeah. They come into the songs that you've written that they know. That it's different than just the person that goes out to be a recording artist.
Absolutely.
And that's great too, but it's a different concept. It's more intimate, and they're there because they appreciate songwriting, I think. And they like the stories of how they were written.
Exactly. Yeah. And that makes it, why we like to do it, especially as it comes along a little bit. You don't want to go out there and have the loud places, and I mean, it's just it keeps us going back out doing it when it can be that kind of a venue. So that's really cool. Have you got a website or something people can look on to see where you're going to be?
Well, I did have a website, but I got lazy and I don't let it slide, so I got to get back into it. I had a radio show on radio for quite a few years, almost 20, called The Original, and I played the original demos of the hit song, because when I got to Nashville, I was really interested in the demos that songwriters did, so I started collecting them, and I have a collection of songs. The song original. So on my show, that's what I played. I also talk with the songwriters a little bit, do a little interviews, and I hosted. It's called The Originals, and it's on every Sunday night on his radio Nashville. that was 94.5, I think it is. And it's 8 o'clock on Sunday night, and it goes for an hour. And I talk a little bit with the writers and like their original demos of the don't know.
Oh, well, I'm sure our listeners, including myself, is going to tune into that. Yeah.
Yeah, we would. I really am proud of it. It's really been on almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That really does sound like a really cool radio show.
What's that?
That does sound like a really cool radio show.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's really a lot of the people I know, so it's very intimate. Talking with them, and I hear about probably 8 to 10 songs on the show each Sunday night, and talk to some of the writers. And it's really different. It's called The Original.
I'm going to look that up. That's great. And then have we got like a book in the works or anything like that on your wonderful life story?
Well, I do have a book out, and it's been out for a little while. It's called Someday I'm Going to Rent This Town.
I love it.
Yeah, and it's on it's on a label that just is not exists anymore because the guy's in prison. But you can get it on Amazon. There's available on get it.
Okay.
But
and then
it's all about
your life story. Yeah, go ahead. Story.
Yeah, it's all about my experiences, and it's kind of fun. I have to say.
You got like words of advice and everything for beginning songwriters in there?
There's some of that in, but it's not an instructional book. It's the book about my experiences in Nashville and how it all happened, and it's an interesting equivalent of you to divide, and I had a really response at first but the guy was a criminal that was my publisher. Unfortunately, I think he's in prison now. But because it was ripping people off, it's a long story. But
sure.
But you can't find it on Amazon. It's called Someday I'm Going to Rent This Town.
Okay.
It's all about my experience.
And then the original's on Sunday evenings at 8, right?
8 o'clock on 94.5 o'clock on Nashville. Or you can listen to it on computer. Very cool.
It is very cool. Well, I don't know how much longer we've got, Hudson. I mean, I really go on and ask more questions, but I know Eva's probably got a bundle of other things he's got going on too. But I sure enjoyed listening to this and found out a couple of new things that I can tune into and all that. Do you have anything else you wanted to ask him, Hudson?
I just want to thank you so much for taking the time and to come onto our podcast and share all of your amazing stories.
I feel the same way, you guys. Thanks for asking to talk to me. I appreciate it. I enjoy it very much, and I really appreciate your interest.
Well, thank you for being on, and best of luck, continued luck to you. And I know it's not just luck; it's talent. And I know that our listeners and Hudson and I really enjoyed getting to visit with you today. So take care and tell Paul, Overstreet, and all those guys hello as well, and just much continued success.
I will. Thank you guys. If I can do more for you, let me know.
Yeah, we'll have to bring you back on. It was a great conversation. Thank you again so much.
Done. Well, Joni, that was a great interview with Even Stevens.
Oh man, I can't believe, I mean, we were talking about it prior to interviewing him, but I just can't believe the amount of songs that man has been part of writing, and what a thing, legacy to leave behind.
Absolutely. And he's still going. He's still making them. He's still doing his thing, and you got to give it to him for that.
Oh man, yeah. Well, once, it's just something you can't just flip a switch, and as you and I both know with our music or songwriting, you can't just say, well, I've had enough hits now. I'm going to stop doing what I love. You probably do it till the day we die.
Yeah, it really, if you love what you do, it's not about how much money you have or have not made. And it's not work. You just truly enjoy doing it. And, I would like to say it's a hobby, but it's not a hobby because you're getting paid for it. But it kind of, in some ways, feels the same. You're just doing your passion, your love, your interest.
Yeah, and I mean, having somebody else record one of my songs, it's one thing to write it and record it myself and be proud of it and see people's faces relate to it, and I love it when I see that. But when you have somebody you look up to as an artist say, man, that's a great song, I'd like to record that song, it takes it to a whole nother level yet.
Thank you for joining us for Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni. We hope you enjoyed this glimpse into the heart of these stories. If you loved this episode, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to connect with us on our website, storiesroundthetable with hudsonandjoni.com. We'll see you next week, ready to share another story.